Once upon a time, in a quiet little village nestled beside Whispering Woods, stood a big old mansion high on a hill. Every Halloween, as the moon cast long, eerie shadows, the village children would hurry past its gates, their hearts thumping like drums. They whispered tales of spooky ghosts that haunted its empty halls. But one little boy, named Max, was different. He wasn't afraid. In fact, he was curious. He loved Halloween more than anything, with its costumes, candies, and mysteries. This year, he decided he had to know the truth about the spooky ghosts of Moonlight Manor. So, on one particularly chilly night, with his pumpkin lantern casting a warm, brave glow, Max marched right up to the mansion's imposing front door. Taking a deep breath, he pushed it open. The door let out a long, loud creak that echoed through the vast, dusty entrance hall. "Hello," Max called out, his voice small but steady. The air grew still, and for a moment, only silence answered. Then, suddenly, boo! 3 shimmering, glowing figures appeared right before him. Max jumped back, his heart leaping into his throat, but as his eyes adjusted, he noticed something strange. These ghosts weren't scary at all. In fact, they looked silly. The tallest one wore a floppy hat that drooped over its eyes. Another had a pair of glasses far too big for its spectral face, perched comically on its nose. And the smallest ghost wasn't trying to be scary at all. It was fumbling, trying to juggle a handful of glowing, floating candies. A giggle escaped Max's lips. Gathering his courage, Max asked, "Are you friendly?" The biggest ghost, the one with the silly hat, broke into a wide, transparent grin. "Of course, we are. We're the friendly ghosts of Moonlight Manor. We only ever scare people by accident." The other 2 ghosts nodded enthusiastically, their glowing forms bobbing in the air. The ghosts floated closer, explaining their predicament. For centuries, they had been the guardians of the mansion's legendary Halloween candy stash. Their job was to welcome visitors and share the sweets. But every time they tried to greet people with a cheerful, beautiful evening, or a simple welcome, their ghostly appearance would send trick-or-treaters running away in terror before they could finish their sentence. They were just too good at being spooky, even when they didn't mean to be. Max couldn't help but laugh. It was the funniest, saddest story he had ever heard. "You just want to share candy?" he asked. The ghosts all nodded in unison, looking a bit glum. "Well," Max declared with a determined smile, "maybe I can help." A brilliant idea popped into his head. A Halloween candy party! With the ghosts' excited help, they transformed the old mansion. Max hung twinkling fairy lights that danced across the cobwebs, placed glowing pumpkins in every window, and even helped the ghosts bake ghost-shaped cookies that floated temptingly in the air. The dusty old manor began to look less spooky and more spectacular. When the village children cautiously approached the mansion later that night, they didn't find a scary, haunted house. Instead, they found Max at the door, welcoming them to the party of a lifetime. he introduced them one by one to his new friends. Gus, with the hat, Penelope, with the glasses, and little Pip, the candy juggler. The night was pure magic. The ghosts weren't frightening. They were fantastic hosts. They danced through the walls, told hilarious, centuries-old jokes, and played the most incredible game of hide-and-seek you've ever seen. Laughter filled the halls that were once silent, and everyone shared candy until their pockets were overflowing. By the time the clock struck midnight, every child agreed it was the best Halloween ever. From that day forward, the old mansion was no longer known as the spooky house on the hill. It became the happiest, most welcoming house in the entire village. And every Halloween, if you pass by Moonlight Manor and listen very carefully to the wind rustling through the trees, you might just hear the faint, happy giggles of the friendly ghosts, followed by a playful whisper. Boo! Oops! We mean hello. Thanks for listening to our story. If you enjoyed this little tale, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures. We'll see you next time.